everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting tutorial, and today we are painting a Riptide, except we're missing half of it. Here it is. There's the other half. Oh, yes, here it is. There's the full Riptide in his glory. He has been assembled in two parts, as you can see, top part and the bottom part. And I figured what we would do, just to make this a little bit easier on ourselves, is we would paint the legs followed by the body. And well, we'll do the whole of the legs followed by the whole of the body, and it'll all make sense once we get there. So we're just going to take him off for now, and we're going to focus on our legs. Now the whole thing has been primed in Wraithbone, and it is going to be in the colours of the T'au Sept, like the rest of my T'au army. Now the place we're going to be working on first is the kind of exoskeleton, the under bits, the black areas. And the colour we're going to be using first for this is Leviadon Blue. Now we're just going to be painting this all over all of these bits that we want to be black. Now if you really want to, you can do the top section at the same time. It's just going to take a lot longer because you're going to be hunting for black details. The reason we're doing it this way, with the black details first on the legs, is because it just makes sense. We don't want to splodge black on our armor panels, which are going to be that lovely T'au Sept ochre colour. You just want to get this all done first. And then once this Leviadon Blue is all over, we'll come back. So with that Leviadon Blue applied, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some black Templar. I'm going to apply this all over the top. So with that done, what we're now going to do is going to move on to the ochre parts. Now in a slight departure from what we've done previously with T'au Sept, I should say, is rather than doing a mix of Iyanden Yellow and Fyreslayer Flesh, what we're going to do is we're going to paint them in one by one. This is just so we've got a lot of control here, and it becomes a little bit easier to manage. So what we're going to do is we're going to take roughly 4 parts Iyanden Yellow to 1 part contrast medium, and we're going to use this little kind of thinned down puddle to apply a nice smooth surface to, well, all of the parts that were going to be ochre. Now we're going to leave some panels. We're going to leave this one, and we're going to leave the third one up there, and we're going to leave the second one there, and we're going to leave this little cutout just up here because we want those to be the opposite color, or the other color in the scheme. Same for this panel just here. Otherwise, what we're going to do is we're going to take that thinned down Iyanden Yellow, and we're just going to glide across the surface of our Riptide's armor, just like so. I'm going to take it a section at a time, and be as neat, as smooth as possible. And what that contrast medium there is doing is it's just keeping us a little bit wetter for a little bit longer, just so that we can move it around and watch for any dark blobs. Like that one just there. So with that done, our Riptide legs are looking like this at the minute. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add that ochre effect, and we're going to basically do exactly the same thing as we just did with the Iyanden Yellow. We're going to make 4 parts Fyreslayer Flesh to 1 part Contrast Medium. So 4 brushfuls of Fyreslayer Flesh and then 1 of Contrast Medium, just to improve that flow once again. And we are going to now just go over the top of all of our Iyanden Yellow, just like this. So with that done, you should have some legs that look somewhat like this. They're looking pretty cool. But what we're going to do now is we're going to colour in those remaining armour panels. And the colour we're going to be using for that is a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Flesh Tearers Red and Shyish Purple. I'm just going to start up here. And, well, the application is broadly the same. We're just going to make contact and we're just going to glide across the surface of the model. Just like this to get a nice, smooth finish. Like so. With that done, he's looking pretty cool. Well, his legs are. But what we're going to do now is we're just going to take some Wyldwood and we're going to use a very small brush here to basically do a recess shade going along the grooves on these large armor plates. Now, if you overlap just a little bit, that's okay, because we are going to be edge highlighting later on. And ultimately it'll look a little bit like a scuff mark, which is okay. Now, you don't have to do this. It's entirely optional. But the reason I'm doing it is I just want to punch up those recesses just a little bit. You can always do like I just did there. Use your finger to just quickly wipe it away. Should you need to. And there you go, you can see that that's really punched that one up. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Runelord Brass. I'm going to apply this to any of our kind of extruding screws or stabilizers or whatever the heck they are. So this is going to be things like these shapes. And to be clear, these are the ones that are kind of poking out. Like that sort of thing. We're not doing that. And so with that done, we're then going to take a tiny amount of Leadbelcher. I'm going to apply this to these things. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Darkoath Flesh. I'm going to use this to shade our Runelord Brassy areas. Just like this. It's at this point where there should be a clip that details 2:1:1 of contrast medium Flesh Terror's red Shyish Purple going over the top of our red sections. However, that clip has been corrupted, so here's a black and white artsy type clip of me doing it the first time, just to kind of make it up to you. And with that done, we're then going to take some Gryph-Charger Grey. I'm going to use this to shade our silver details. So with that done, as you can probably already tell on that right leg, we're going to be doing some highlights. So the next one, well, the first one we're going to be doing is Russ Grey, and it's going to be all over the edges of our black details. So we're just going to start just here on the back and start picking out all of the edges, just like this. Now it is going to be one of those things that just takes a little while because there's a lot of them. But it looks absolutely fantastic. So with that rust grey highlight applied to all of the black, see, it makes it look nice and shiny now. What we're going to do is we're going to highlight all of the ochre armour, and the colour we're going to be using for that is Ungor Flesh. I'm just going to pick a place to start. I'm just going to start right here. I'm just going to start picking out all of the edges. Just like this. And so with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Jokaero Orange. I'm going to use this to highlight all of our dark reddy brown, purple type areas. So with that done, what we're then going to do is we're then going to take some iron hand steel, and I'm just going to use that to very subtly add some highlights to our silver. Just like that. And so with that iron hand steel applied, what we then do is we then take some Runelord Brass. We're going to relayer on the flat parts of our, well, brassy areas. Just like this. So with that done, our Riptide's trousers are all finished. They look pretty good. The only thing remaining is to do some freehand on them, which we will do a lot later once we've done the whole model. So now it is time to paint the torso. Now, everything that we've done so far is exactly the same across the rest of the Riptide. However, there are a lot less black details on the torso. So what I would recommend is having the box art available to you, and actually this time starting with the Iyanden Yellow, the ochre and all that, rather than starting with the black, because it's not quite as significant a colour on the torso. So, using our 4 parts Iyanden Yellow to 1 part contrast medium mix, we're just going to pick a place to start, and I'm going to start down here on the big shield. I'm just going to start getting this all over, just like we did on the legs. So as you can see, the Riptide is quite quite a lot further along than it was in the last clip. I've gone ahead and I've done all of the ochre, I've added all of the black, and I've added all the metallics and all of the red as well, because we've already covered this, so we weren't going to film it exactly the same thing again. However, I have stopped it just before the shading parts of the metallic, so as you can see around the model. And the reason for this is because we have an additional color at last. We have some white that we're going to do, and well, the areas are fairly obvious as to where they're going to be. We have the head and we have the ring around both of the T'au symbols. So the color we're going to be using next is Apothecary White to do these areas. I'm basically just going to layer this Apothecary White all over the top of these details. Nice and simple, just like this. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Corax White. I'm going to use this to effectively re-layer these details, just avoiding anywhere where that Apothecary White is really settled in the deepest recesses. Like so. But additionally, what we're going to do is going to take a much finer brush than this small layer brush, and we're going to run this along the middle or around the design of each of the T'au Empire symbols. So for example, the hardest one is just here. On the chest. Like so. So with that done, what we are going to do now is we're going to shade all of those metallics, because our white details are, well, they're looking pretty special. So what we're going to do is we're going to take Darkoath Flesh once again, and we're going to use this to shade all of our Runelord Brass areas. And again, if you followed the first part of the video with the legs, none of this will come as any surprise to you now. And so with that Darkoath Flesh applied, we then take our Gryph-Charger Grey and we use this to shade our silver. So we just got one bit there, and we've got two bits just here on the engines. Like so. So with that done, as before, it is now time to do some highlights, and well, it's the same as before. It's Russ Grey for the black, it's Ungor Flesh for all the ochre. However, just like we've done on this torso, I'm going to start with the Ungor Flesh, and then I'm going to move on to the black details. And again, I'm not going to film this one again. You've already seen this in action. But essentially, we are just going to pick out all of the edges around the torso with the Ungor Flesh. So with all of our highlights applied, the black, the red, the ochre, the metallics re-layered just like we did on the legs, our entire Riptide is now at the same standard, which is really cool. It looks awesome. even if I do say so myself. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the last couple of bits just to finish him off. And the first one is going to be take some Flesh Tearers Red. I'm going to use this on the few lenses and things scattered around. So there's one just here on the head. Like that. And there's one here. And there's one here. Like so. And with that done, we're then going to take a tiny amount of Jokaero Orange. And we're going to use this as a little highlight in the bottom right corner of each of the gems. And so with that done, all that remains is to add some little white dots to all of those little kind of lenses and stuff. And we're just going to add a teeny tiny little dot of Corax White in the top left corner of each of our little gems and lasers, like so. Now, and so with that done, the Riptide is now finished. Or is it? Because in fact what we are going to do is we're going to add all the little markings. Now I have this image from Games Workshop. You can get this from the Games Workshop website, and I'm going to try my best to copy these markings. Now the colour I'm going to be using for this is Corax White. And what we're going to do is we're just going to start down here on the central plate, and we're just going to very carefully start drawing in our markings. So for example, this one comes down to around about sort of there. And then next to it, what we do is we draw very closely another little tiny line that then connects the two, and then we block it in. I'm actually just going to bring it down a little bit further than where it's currently at. Down to around about there. Like so. Then we've got another one, comes down next to it. With a dot on the end, and then we have another one next to that. Which widens out at about the halfway mark. just like this. Now we're just going to go around and add these markings all over, wherever we want them. So with that done, our Riptide is now finished. Doesn't he look awesome? Nice and simple, and well, all that remains is to do the basing. Now of course you can do this any way that you usually base your T'au. I'm going to be doing this the same style as the rest of my army, which is ultimately just using Sterling Battlemire, scattering a few little hobby rocks from an ancient pot of little stones from Games Workshop, doing a little dry brush of Tyrant Skull, and then adding some tufts. And so, with our base complete, the Riptide, our XV104 Battlesuit, is now finished. Ready to, well, do something, I guess. They're not exactly feared right now, but there was a time when running 3 of these was considered the absolute worst. I've had a Riptide before, really happy to have another one now in this T'au Sept colours. Really awesome centerpiece model for the T'au, and a great kind of focal point for the rest of the army to kind of build out around. Really excited to see the rest of it in action. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you want to support me further like these legends and bosses on the screen before you, you can do so. Head to patreon.com/Warhipster or head to ko-fi.com/Warhipster. Alternatively, you can now become a YouTube channel member by heading to the channel page and clicking on the join button just here, exactly like these awesome folks have done. And if you just want to shoot me a little thanks just because you really love this video, you can click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.